Well, hello. Welcome to the podcast today. Boy, I have a dream. We all know him. I remember him. I remember not liking him at one point, right? Because of who he's being. But he is here, and I am so honored that he chose to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sean. Sean, tell the people about yourself if they don't already know.
Okay. I'm Sean Kanan. I'm an actor. You can see me right now on season 6 of Cobra Kai and The Bold and the Beautiful on CBS. I'm an author. I've written 5 books. Have a TEDx talk out right now. I'm a producer and a writer, a husband, a father, dog lover,
All of the above. I
all the
love it.
above, man.
All of the above.
It always
Man,
it just always it always sounds douchey when you're giving your own bio, but
yeah,
so forgive me, you know what I mean?
it is. It's
You
difficult, but
know, I mean, but
you deserve it, man. You've worked. You've done
thank
things
you.
that
Thank
are
you.
dreams for people. So
Yeah.
that's and when I say I didn't like it's because of the Karate Kid situation, right? But
Right.
I
Right.
loved what you do. So
Thank
that's
you,
what I meant
brother. I
by that.
appreciate that.
But you've worked really hard at what you do,
Yeah.
and here we are, like so many years later, and you're still in the game. You're
Yeah.
still adapting. You're still rolling. You're still making it happen. So yeah, please tell us about the TED Talk. I do want to because I'm a
So
speaker.
yeah, I did a TEDx talk, TEDx South Lake, which is in outside Dallas, Texas. Um, so I try and come up with goals every year, right? I think a lot of people do. And last year, one of my goals was I really wanted to do a TED Talk. And as the year was progressing, I wasn't really getting any traction. And so, look, I think goals need to be not only organic, but you need to be flexible in them. And I like to go where the energy in my life is taking me. And so I thought, okay, probably not going to happen this year. And then last year, my book Way of the Cobra won an award. I went to Arizona with my wife to pick up the award, and it's called the International Impact Book Award. And there were all these amazing authors and speakers there. And I met a guy who had done TED Talks before, and we hit it off. And he said, "Hey, I want to introduce you to somebody." So he introduces me to this amazing woman named Katie Mars, and she was a TED Talk coach. And it just so happened, she's from Toronto. It just so happened, I said, "Are you going to be in LA anytime soon? I'd love to meet you." She said, "As it happens, I'm going to be there next week." I was like, "We're having lunch."
Yes,
So
sir.
between, right? Yeah, because you got to be active, right? So
You got it. Yep.
between the time that I knew we were going to have lunch, I put on video what my idea was for a proposed TED Talk. We had lunch, and she said, "Well, I want to tell you that I'm allowed to choose one speaker a year." And she goes, "Congratulations, it's you." And I
Oh,
was, my man, I was floored. I mean, I was floored. And so it's a really intense process because, we're speakers, we're authors, we're writers, but you have to formulate your talk, which is your words, but it has to kind of conform to a certain, not only set of standards, but parameters, time wise, all this stuff, right?
Lord.
So my speech went through like 15 evolutions before it was, I don't want to say
Again.
accepted, but before it was ready. And it was really good because, I've gotten used to sort of doing my own thing, not having anyone give me notes and things like that. But in this process, I had to be very open to what their
Wow.
process was. But it was great because it really disciplined me to come up with the very best of what I could say. And so, for those people that haven't seen it, I would really implore you to go watch it. It was just selected by TED Talk as an editor's choice. And it's about the journey of unbecoming. The basic idea is that, from the time we're young, society, our parents, they push us to become a success, to become someone. And I say that maybe this blueprint isn't necessarily right. Maybe achieving true success and meaningful happiness is not so much about becoming someone, but about unbecoming. Unbecoming who you are based
Woo!
upon everything
I
society's
love it.
put on you. And I say, can you remember who you were before you were told who to become? And
Mm.
I talk about how, when I was 22 years old and I got the role in Karate Kid 3, and then I was faced with a life-threatening injury and I had to dig deep. And I was told that, I wasn't going to be, first of all, I didn't know if I was going to live. I was told they didn't know if they could save my life. This happened Christmas Day, 1988. Passed out in a casino in Las Vegas because that's where everybody should be spending their Christmas, right? And
I didn't
and
even think about it.
right, and so I had to fight my way back into the film, and then I talk about how smash cut to my 50th birthday, I was getting a star on the Palm Springs Walk of Fame, and from the outside, my life looked really good, right? But the reality was, I was 40 pounds overweight. I was dealing with a very serious alcohol issue, and I was hanging out on my job by the skin of my teeth. And I knew that I was a fraud. Every time I looked in the mirror, I didn't see any answers. And, you know, what happened was my wife, who is just my everything, my rock, she never threatened to leave me. She simply said to me one time, she said, I've put everything I have into this relationship. Please tell me I didn't back the wrong horse. And
Oh,
it
that's
it it
powerful.
it struck me like a lightning bolt. And I'm a firm believer that there are two forces in the universe that create change in people: fear and love. And I was motivated by both of those. I was in real fear, not only of losing who I loved the most, but I was also in fear of slipping into a life that was just mediocre, average. And for me, that would be a form of death. And I say, what happened to that 22-year-old kid who, when the chips were down, was able to save himself? Where'd that guy go? And it was because I had become something. I was living in Hollywood, chasing an idea of who I thought I should be instead of connecting with my authentic self. And so I made some very huge decisions, not the least of which was I stopped drinking. But even, well, that was probably one of the biggest, but I decided to live my life in a different way. And in about a year and a half, I lost 50 pounds. I wrote an award-winning, best-selling book. I created a streaming television show, which got me that guy. And
Ah, okay.
it's not about just sort of trumpeting my successes, because I say in the TEDx, I would trade all of that away if it meant giving up the two things that I got out of this process, which were meaningful happiness
Mm.
and really getting in touch with my authentic self. And it's changed my life in ways, all those things that I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting them, why I was working so hard and why am I not getting, well, of course I wasn't getting them because I wasn't living my life consistent with a way with somebody who deserves them. And then as soon as I began to live my life in a different way, and I'm a big believer in the law of vibration, what you put
Yep.
out, the universe matches.
Yes,
It was like
sir.
the clouds parted, and it was like God rained down abundance on me. And that's one of the reasons I live my life in gratitude. Every single day I start my morning, before I have my coffee, before I jump on the scale, before I check my phone, I get on my knees and I thank my creator for five things. And that keeps me humble, and it keeps me at a vibration where I'm not worried about what that guy has. I'll give you a perfect example. I just went to the big premiere that Netflix had for Cobra Kai. Okay, and it was great. It was really great, right?
That's
But
amazing within itself.
but if I wanted to, I could look around at a lot of people there and say, well, why's that guy got that? Why she got, and
Yeah.
other people's success is not your failure. You are in
Ooh.
competition against one person and one person only, and that's you. And the sequel to my book, Way of the Cobra, is called Welcome to the Kumite. And Kumite is an epic battle against your greatest opponent. Well, of course, your greatest opponent is you. And
That's
how do you
right.
defeat, right? And how do you defeat them? How do you defeat an opponent that knows everything about you? Okay, your fears, your dreams, your weaknesses, you do it by experiencing a metaphoric death every day. And you are reborn the next day as a kinder, tougher, wiser, more compassionate version of who you were the day before. And it's a never ending process. And if you
Right.
can do that, it doesn't mean that every day you have a better day than the day before. It doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes, but you're on a path of continuing self improvement, not only so that you can bring abundance to your life, but how can you serve your fellow man and woman? How can you serve God? How can you be a better version of yourself? And once I kind of got that, all the stuff that seemed difficult to me, I can just kind of equate it to like Neo in the Matrix. You know, when the bullets come by, I was just like,
Yeah.
whoosh, whoosh. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. Dude, I love what you're saying. It is amazing. The concept of unbecoming. Like that
Yeah.
is the authentic self. All of these things are huge points. Now, I have a question.
Okay.
Are you so you've studied martial arts before?
Yeah.
There's a reason I'm asking. Okay,
Sure.
the reason how much of this stuff that you're not stuff of these concepts and ways of living come from those teachings?
A lot of them do. You know, my series of books is called The Way of the Cobra series, and Cobra is an acronym. It's formed from the words character, because character is everything. Character, optimization. Optimization means making the best decision at the moment that decision needs to be made with the information you have. It doesn't mean you don't make wrong decisions. New information emerges, but it means when it's time to act, when it's time to strike, strike. You know, so many people get paralyzed by overthinking. They get paralyzed by that voice that says, "What if you fail?" And I say, screw that voice. You
Yeah.
listen to the voice that says, "What if I fly?" So character,
Wait, I
right?
love that.
Right? Character.
You're on it, bro.
I can't even remember if I read that somewhere or if I made it up. I've been saying
It
this for
don't
years, you
matter.
know?
Thank God you said it
Right?
today.
So
That's hilarious.
character, optimization, balance. Okay. So these are all the pillars of the acronym COBRA. Balance is critical. Like, what good is it if you make $1 million a year, but your primary relationships and your relationship with yourself withers on the vine, right? Because you're working
That's
too
right.
much. But the flip side of that is, you know, you can have a loving relationship with your friends and family, but if you don't have balance in your professional life, which provides you with the security and the stability, it causes instability in your family because it makes them feel, you know, uncertain. They don't know that, you know, needs are going to be taken care of. So you got to have that balance, right?
That's right.
The R in Cobra, respect. I think we all know what that means. It's respect for others, respect for yourself, respect for time, respect for all that you've been given. And the last one is abundance. Cobra, COBRA, abundance. It is one of the simplest things you can do that will change your life. And, you know, you might think it sounds like woo woo, like it's bullshit. If you live your life from a place of abundance, not scarcity, the law of vibration says,
Yes.
we grew up, we said opposites attract. Opposites don't attract. Only magnets, okay? You know? So if you desperately want to have financial success, but you're walking around all the time going, "Man, I can never pay the bills. I can't get it done. I just want to be rich." All the universe hears is I don't have,
Yep.
I
And that's
can't.
what it
And
gives
it
you.
gives you more of it. And if you can self-discipline yourself and be aware enough to say, okay, maybe I don't have everything I want, but God, look at what I do have. I live in abundance. The universe rains abundance
Yeah.
down on you. I can't explain it. It's like flipping a light switch on. I mean, I can't tell you for sure that the light's going to come on, but it's going to come on, right?
Yeah,
So I
come on.
can't. You can't see the electricity, but it
Yeah.
happens, and it's the same with abundance. You know, I can't tell you why it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
No, 100%. And I think it has something to do with it guides your what you're looking at. If you're believing that positive, you see positive. And
Yeah.
that's the direction. Very good points. I definitely gotta get this book. This is really cool.
Please
I
get them,
love
man. Please. Hey, I got 5 kids, brother. Please get my books.
it. Come get that, please. Let
That's
me
right.
ask you, out of from the acronym, which one you think is like the first thing people should start using from that acronym,
Character.
and that
Character,
simple
without a doubt. Without a
character.
doubt. Look, here's the thing. If you hear nothing else I say today, if you get nothing out of my books besides this, character is everything.
Everything.
Everything. You know what? And I say, in my book, it's set up that I'm the sensei. You're a student in my dojo. The belts are divided in, take you from white to black belt. And, so I refer to the students, the readers of the books as cobras. And I say, a cobra's word is bond. You can take it to the bank. And people know that when I say something, I do it. And that leads into something else. So many people, especially with women, because I think society conditions women even more than men to be pleasers.
Yeah,
People tend to say yes when they should say no. And here's
that's
why.
right.
If you're judicious about what you say yes and no to, first of all, when you say yes, people know that it has gravity, it has value, that you don't say yes to everything. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, if you give somebody a yes or a maybe and you really mean no, nothing will engender resentment faster from another person when you
Yeah.
either intentionally or unintentionally string them along. Everybody, look, nobody likes to hear no, but if you give somebody a definitive and quick no about something, at least they're able to say, okay, the band-aid's pulled off. I'm not getting what I want, but it's not that you're keeping me on a line there, jerking me around. And that's when people start to resent you.
So okay, so the unbecoming,
Yeah.
it like really strikes a chord with me because we success like we take on what people, like you said, what people think success is. So for me, from my view, when you were doing the movie, that movie, that to me was you're in a plateau, that a dream I can't reach. But what you're saying is that
Well,
that's
first,
not what
first, first
matters.
of all, first of all, look, everybody's success is different. Now,
Yes.
we don't know each other real well, but I'm guessing that there are a whole bunch of things that you need in your life to be successful that I also need, right? But I guarantee there's some things in my life that I need to be successful that really aren't important to you and vice versa, right?
That's right.
Let me tell you what success is not. Success is not the airbrushed covers of fitness and fashion magazines that set the bar
That's
impossibly
right.
high for people. It's not the 24-hour constant bombardment of commercials that tells us things that we have to buy to be successful. And it's certainly not the bloated Instagram feeds of celebrities parading their toys on social
Yeah.
media, right? So you have to look down into yourself and say, okay, what do I need to be a successful human being? And I give an example in my book. Um, think about a guy that's 75 years old. He's a janitor, doesn't speak English very well. There's absolutely honor in doing every job, but let's be honest, that's not the first guy that we're going to put at the top of our list as being successful, right? But what if I told you that same guy saved all of his hard earned money and he put his only daughter through medical school and she
Yes.
grew up to be a brilliant research scientist saving thousands of lives? Wouldn't we say that that guy epitomized the American dream and success? So
Yes,
you have to
sir.
learn to look for success in yourself and in others in unconventional ways. Not, in society, for better or for worse, people tend to keep score by what you got in your bank account. And I have found that the less I concern myself with that, the more I have in my bank account. Now, that doesn't mean,
Yes.
listen, listen, I get up, I grind, I hustle, I work, but I'm a huge proponent of if you want results, stay out of them. Concentrate on building a bulletproof process to achieve the results. And if you apply that process effectively and consistently, and you're continually doing diagnostics on it to see what's working, what's not working, and tweaking it, you don't need to worry about the results. They will come. They might not look exactly like you imagined them. They might not happen on your exact timeline, but over the overarching span of time, you will achieve success.
That's right. I love that. I love that. I love it. So how do you break away from it? Because so many people are stuck in what you're just talking about. They think success is the things they see. How
Yeah.
can an individual break away from it using this concept of yours?
I think the first thing you got to do is you, everybody needs to take responsibility for where they are in their
Whoa.
lives. If you're not happy with where you are, uh, you need to realize that where you are is the sum total of all the decisions that you have made to this point, both the good ones and the questionable ones. If you're unhappy with your life and you're, in your mid 20s or later, it's not your mommy's fault who didn't hold you enough. It's not your daddy's fault who used to put you down in front of
Right.
his friends. Okay. And it's not the world's fault who doesn't see what a special little snowflake you are. Okay. You got to look at yourself,
Dude,
you know?
you know what makes you so funny is that you just sneak them in. You don't even see it coming. It's
Right.
like in a normal conference. So yeah.
You know?
Okay,
So,
guys.
so I
Sorry.
think I think that's the first. And listen, so many people they hide under the umbrella of victimhood.
Yeah.
And I talk about in my book. I go, let me tell you about a young girl who desperately wanted to have a career in television, and she had the unfortunate trifecta of being born into abject poverty. She wasn't physically what most people would consider ready for prime time. And she was sexually abused multiple times. And, that girl could have looked up at the heavens and said, "Why, Lord, why? This is
Yeah.
unfair." And instead, you know what she did? She went out and she built $1 billion multimedia company. You
Woo!
might have
Good
heard of her. Her
for
name's
her.
Oprah Winfrey,
Ah!
you
I'm
know?
like, I'm like, you
So,
go, girl. Well, she already knows.
right?
She
Oh, she
went.
went. She,
She
she
went.
went.
She's there.
Um, so my point is, look, look when things happen to us, I, it's funny. I talk about like um, the inner critic that we all have. It's that voice that puts us down and says you're not good enough. I talk about a strategy where if you give a personality to your inner critic, something really silly, and when that inner critic pops up, it almost makes you laugh. Like I call mine Little Timmy. And Little Timmy is this obnoxious little 5-year-old kid. He's got his Oshkosh bagosh overalls on. And he, when I'm trying to do something and he tells me, "You're never going to be able to do that." Who do you think? He stamps his feet and I think about that and it's so ridiculous. And then I send Timmy to his room mentally. It makes me laugh. And what that does is it changes my state. I go from, "Oh God, I'm starting to listen to this negative loop," to that's ridiculous. I'm not going to let some lippy little 5-year-old kid tell me what time it
Small
is,
little
right?
Timmy. Yeah.
So if you can look at what are your triggers for making you feel like you're not a success and dealing with them, and you got to ask yourself, what are you doing in your process, your bulletproof process or lack thereof, that is keeping you from achieving your goals?
I love it.
you know
Yeah.
and,
And
and, and
then
most of the time it's using habits that are either negative habits or ineffective habits.
that's right.
When you can change the habits, you start to build that bulletproof process. When you learn to manage your time, you'll start experiencing pretty significant positive changes in a relatively short amount of time.
But the start is facing yourself, right? That, like you
Absolutely.
said, biggest enemy, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Biggest enemy. And when you
Yeah.
look, sometimes you might not like what you see, but you have to do it.
You have
That's what
to.
got me going. I
You know.
love it. So fear, that's a big one. That's a
Oh
big
yeah.
one. I'm in the mental health space, and fear is like a big one. So can you give some advice on that, on facing the fear and how to start conquering it realistically right now in small ways?
You have to learn to make an ally of fear.
Yes. You got
Um,
it. Man.
you Fear is, as I said, one of the two greatest motivating forces in the universe. But I talk about the universal laws. We talked about the law of vibration. There's also a law called the law of polarity, and it means that to everything there are two different poles. In other words, hot and cold are not opposites. They are both, they're not different things. They're both opposite poles of temperature. Okay.
Mm,
So you need to understand that whenever there's something that you don't want in your life, the law of polarity says that the exact opposite pole exists.
mm,
If you're struggling with not having money, the law of polarity says that your scarcity, the opposite side's abundance, it exists.
it
It's not like
exists.
I'm broke and I don't know if I'm able to fix this because I don't know. Yes, it's there. You just have to tap into that part of the law of polarity. So with fear, if you're afraid of something, the other side of that is not being afraid, overcoming. You just and one thing that causes fear and anxiety in all of us is that humans love to think about the future and create between their ears scenarios that are going to happen. And the reality is that most of the time, those scenarios never come to fruition. But
Ever.
you're creating anxiety because humans hate the unknown. Humans like known entities. Okay, that's why most people will achieve a certain level in their life, and then they don't really go a lot higher because they get comfortable with that status quo, because to break through that ceiling requires that you go into unknown territory,
So,
and people don't like that. Well, okay, what if I quit my job to pursue my dream of becoming a novelist? Well, yeah, but then I'm not going to have my income coming in, and what if I fail, and what if I blah, 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 you're already writing your own future there. It goes back to listening to that voice. What if I fly? So,
ooh.
look, I'm not talking
I
about
love
things.
that saying. I love that
Look,
saying.
there are things in life that are immediate intrinsic fears, physical violence, health issues, things like that. Sure, I'm not saying fear doesn't exist. I deal with it all the time, but you have to figure out how to shrink it down into something that is manageable, and a lot of that starts with not with living in the present. Okay, most people who
Wow.
have anxiety, it's because they're mentally living in the future, but it's a future that they're constructing based on all of their insecurities and fears and unknowns. And so often it never even happens. And even when it does happen,
It's not as bad.
it's not as bad, it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. And conversely, rather, when things are really good, that never lasts forever either. And it's usually not as good as you think.
Correct.
Very often in life, that which starts off bitter with the expansion of time can end up being great. Like I remember when I got divorced 20 some years ago, I was crushed. I was devastated. And I thought this was the end of everything. But had I known that that would have opened me up to be available to my wife, Michelle, who's my everything, my
Yes.
soulmate, would I have allowed myself to create so much drama and suffering? The reverse is also true, though. How many times have we heard about the guy that wins the lottery and a year
Yeah,
later
man.
he's miserable, he's broke? So live in the present and follow the middle path. And by that I mean when something ostensibly negative happens, don't allow it to swing your emotional pendulum so far to the left that you start making bad decisions based on fear. And when something's really great happening, enjoy it and accept it, but understand that you need to be looking, you reach a mountaintop, you need to take a breath, a little victory lap, and then be tilting your head back looking for the next
That's
peak,
right.
right?
That is right. Listen, I have okay. So you've had a lot of success in your career, or the success of what we see, right? And you're still having it. Why this? Why do you want to like empower people? Why? Because you can do anything, right? You have the talent, obviously. You have the drive. You've done it before. What is it about this? What made you switch to? I got to share this with the world.
I think there's a selfish aspect to it, if I'm being really honest. It makes me feel good to help other people.
That's
We all like to get presents, but the truth of the matter is it really does feel better when you give someone a gift and see the joy that it brings to them. there's that. The other thing is, I have to live my life in accordance with the books that I've written. And so my doing this, the constant process of doing this and helping others keeps my character maintained. It keeps my bulletproof process intact because part of my process is being of service and helping other people with no expectation of anything in return, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Great answer, man. Yeah, and it makes it makes it that's gonna be selfish that way. It makes me
Yeah,
feel good.
it's good to be selfish. Yeah,
So now let's talk about your movie career. I have to
sure.
touch that a little bit. You know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So which role was you feel like was the most touching role for you as an actor?
Ooh, that's hard. I find something in every acting role that I have that is important to me. Um, I've produced and written a couple of movies, and the roles that I've played in them have been really special to me. Karate Kid 3 is special to me, but not for the reason that most people think. It's not because it put me in this worldwide franchise that later became Cobra Kai. It's because, while I was filming it, I had life-threatening surgery, and that experience revealed part of my character that I didn't know was there. So for
Oh,
me, that role's so important, not so much the role, but the experience of filming that movie, if that makes sense.
yes,
Um,
makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
So that you had that connection. That's where that awakening happened within
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, well, it's where it started. I'd like to tell you
Yeah.
that everything came together in a New York minute, but it took about another 30 years to figure it out. And here, let me say something to people that are struggling right now. I got a friend right now, and he's a great guy. He's an Emmy award-winning actor, and he's going through a really, really difficult time. And he's like, have I screwed my life up? And I said, listen, man, I didn't get my life together until I was about 54 years old. That doesn't mean I didn't have successes, but I didn't figure it out until I was in my 50s. And if you're struggling right now, and if you start telling yourself that story, well, I'm too old to change or whatever, that's not true.
It's not.
But you have to start with taking responsibility and embarking on the journey of self-awareness and self-discovery. And I tell my acting students, I say, listen, before you slip on the skin of another character, you need to know who you are to be comfortable in your skin, right? And I've
Whoa.
become such I've become such a better actor because I understand myself now and I understand human psychology. And so, when I'm asked to play a character, I look at it from a completely different angle. And you always want to, as an actor, and I know I'm kind of digressing here,
No, it's cool. Keep going.
you want to look at your own historical emotional Rolodex of what's gone on in your life because it's always more real when you pull it from your life than having to kind of create something and extrapolate, well, what would it be like because I've never experienced this. If you have a rich internal life and you know who you are through self-awareness, you can find a way to relate to somebody, a character, or even another human being in life that you might not initially see any commonality with. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
There's not
Got
too many people that I can't find some way to build rapport with because, it's easy to build rapport with people you like, but you look at people that you have diametric differences, people that you don't like who they are or what they do. And I can look in my life and say, there were times I didn't like who I was. I didn't like what I did.
you.
How can I, how can I relate to them?
I love it. No, no, that was great. That's a great tip for someone in that field
Yeah.
because I think acting is hard. That's not a field I would want. I think it's difficult because to do it well, right? To do it very
Yeah.
well, you have to be able to be that person.
Yeah.
So good for you, man.
Thank you, man.
So where can people get your book, your
Yeah.
stuff, your coaching? Right?
Yeah.
Are you coaching? Your
Oh
coach?
yeah,
Talk about that,
co-
please.
coaching for me is the foundation of what I talked about being of service, because it's like in real time dealing with people with real issues, and nothing makes me happier than to be able to help somebody achieve what they want in their life, because so many people have helped me achieve what I have. So if you're interested in getting my books, you can get them on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. You can get an autograph signed copy at wayofthecobra.com, and that's also where you can sign up for my coaching. You can follow me on Instagram at sean.kanan, and you can watch my TEDx talk. You know what I'll do? I'll send it to you, and maybe you can put a link up, or you can just
Yes, I'll put all the links. Yeah, please.
Google
People
Sean
gotta hear
Kanan
this.
TEDx. Yeah,
Yeah, they gotta hear this, man. I was watching it, man. It's this. Your concept is great. It is
thank you,
real. It is something that can be used right now. I love it.
thank you.
Anything else you would like to share?
Anything else I'd like to share? Wow. You know, I just want people to know that if you're struggling right now, you know, if you don't have clarity with where you want to go, or who you want to be, just remember this. Everything you need to live the life that you want already exists within you.
Mm.
You know, you just have to unbecome the crap, the stuff that, you know, has been foisted on us by well-intentioned parents
Yep.
and, you know, haters out there in the world, and, you know,
Haters,
social media and stuff. You know, you got to get
they're
down to the
there.
essence of who you are, and who
They're
you
there.
are is beautiful, and everything you need, it's there. You just got to get in touch with that and assume some responsibility, and then decide that you're going to move forward.
What drives you? What drives
Hmm.
you? If you don't mind sharing, because
I think honestly, I wasted so much time when I was drinking. I wasted opportunities, huge opportunities. Um, but I don't live in regret about that, because all of that brought me to this moment. I
mm,
feel an obligation. You know, I feel an obligation to my creator, that I've been given a second chance, and I've been given so much, and I feel that, you know, my part of the bargain is that I need to be a force for good. I need to be able to try and take all the grace that I've been shown and help other people find that in their life. I know it sounds kind of like, you know, I'm a beauty queen, like doing the wave, but I mean, really,
no,
it's not
that's good.
bullshit. I really believe that. And you know what? The more I live my life like that, I find the bigger my life gets.
Dude, good for you. I see it.
Thanks,
I
man.
see the
You and I got to meet
appreciation
sometime,
in
man. We got
you.
to meet in person
Whenever you
sometime.
want,
We
man.
have to.
I'm
Next
good.
time I'm down in Florida, man, I'll let you know.
Give me a call. But your appreciation is it like exudes that energy. Like you can tell you're someone that battled substance
Yeah,
because not I can't tell by looking at you, but you could tell that you're someone that has survived that because you
yeah,
have this amount of appreciation for the things you have now. You can tell you have an appreciation for the battles you fought
yeah.
and the appreciation for what the Lord did for
I
you.
think two things happen to people that struggle with big things in life. You struggle with death of a loved one, or you know, you've screwed your life up, quote unquote, or struggle with substances. And I think that the universe keeps testing you, and you either are forced to acquire some very hard earned wisdom, or you continue to swirl in your storm of challenges and problems until you figure it out. You know, the universe isn't fair, it's not unfair, it just is. And I believe it continues to test us until we learn certain lessons that we can move away from, not just leave in the back, but help others do the same, you know, pull them forward, pull them up.
I love it, and alcohol is a tough battle. I
It
went
is a
through it
tough
too, so
battle.
it is one of the hardest fights there
Yeah.
is.
And you know what's funny is like, now in retrospect, when I think about it, so much of my drinking came from two things. It came from, it was like self-medicating, because I had anxiety. I had social anxiety. And it also came from the knowledge that I wasn't living my life the way that I should. And so whatever successes I had, I felt like a fraud. I felt like I didn't deserve them. And so it was a way of almost punishing myself. And once I got in touch with who I was, I not only felt that every success I have, I deserve, I also was able to get rid of the anxiety. You know,
Yes.
I mean, I was the guy, like, you would think. A lot of people, it's so funny. They meet me and they're like, "You must have been a frat boy, and you must have been the life, the party." And I'm the guy, like, I'd go to a party, and after 10 minutes, you'd find me like out in the back, like looking for the dog to play with or something like that, because I just would get this social anxiety and stuff, and I don't know if it came from feeling I wasn't good enough, or maybe that somebody else was going to see that I wasn't actually who they thought I was, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And that's why I drank. And once I was able to figure some stuff out, I didn't need it anymore, you know?
Mm.
And when you can resonate a true sense of self-confidence, not one that's born from arrogance or because you've had a couple drinks and you got some, beer muscles going on, that sort of thing. Man, that is some Jedi shit. That's some next level
It's
Jedi
true.
shit when external forces don't knock you off the path of who you are. That's real strength. And I've been blessed to have been able to begin to find some of that in myself.
I love it. What would you tell someone that's thinking about uh, putting the drink down? Because it's a long battle. That's the problem with it, right?
It
It's
is.
always there. How
I,
what,
I,
how what would you tell them to push them or motivate them? Like, just go. It's gonna happen. You're gonna
I,
make it.
I can tell you from me that it's so funny. It's like when you're drinking, you think it's like this big secret when in reality, everybody knows that you're like a mess, right?
Yeah.
So you might as well talk about it. You might as well say to people, hey, you know what? I'm struggling, but you know what? I'm committed to not struggle anymore. I'm probably not going to be perfect, but at least starting to talk about it gets it out of the shadows, because with mental health and addiction and substance abuse, etc., you know, it's become such a pariah. It's such a source of embarrassment for so many people that keeps them in the cycle of shame. And shame is just it's so destructive.
It is.
So I would say talk to people about it. Understand that you're going to have to largely change a lot of things about your life. I mean, you may have to get some new friends, some new
Yes.
playmates. But here's the thing. As you become more successful, and again, I don't just mean financially, as you become more attuned to who you are, you will find that it's a bit like a pyramid. In other words, when you're getting loaded and stuff, you can there's a lot of people at the bottom that you can hang out with, right? But as you learn who you are, the number of people that you can be with, it becomes greatly reduced, but they become people of a much higher quality that aren't lower companions, that bring something to your life. And so when somebody says to me, go, oh, I got tons of friends. I'm always a little
Yeah.
suspect. I have lots of people I like. I have lots of people who like me. I have lots of acquaintances, but I got like a handful of friends, and that's
Yes.
fine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, because that's the people you surround yourself is everything. I love what you said about the being ashamed of it. Yeah, that does stop
Yeah.
people from talking about it, because the funny part is if you would just get it out, there's a lot of people that want you to become sober too.
You,
They
you
would
know, you know,
support you in it.
you know what else, man, is like this is something I didn't come up with, but it's so true. Everybody, everybody is fighting a private war that other people don't know
Amen.
about. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. Like, people have asked me, they said, what are a couple suggestions that if I do these things, I'm going to be successful. And one of them, I say, act with compassion, because
Mm,
everybody is fighting a private war you don't know. And I give an example. I mean,
yeah.
you go up and you're in line at the pharmacy or something, and there's a little old lady in front of you, and she's taking forever, and you're late, and you got your busy, important shit to do, and all of a sudden she whips out her checkbook, and she seems like she's thinking,
You're
and
like,
like, I mean, if you could be arrested for the shit that you think of in your head during that minute, like we would all be in jail, right?
yeah,
And
definitely.
you don't realize that woman might be deciding, do I pay for my husband's cancer medicine, or do I get us food?
Oh,
Or do I get us food? And when you understand that, boy, it changes your whole thought process of,
bro.
I'm important, she needs to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody has a battle they're fighting. And if we all just understood that about each other and showed each other some more grace and compassion, man, we would be a better civilization. We really would.
I love it. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Man, you are really inspirational, man. What? I didn't think
Thank
that's
you.
where this was heading, but I'm glad it did. You are really
Thank you,
doing
man.
good job, the good work
Thanks, pal.
of you know who, of
Yeah.
empowering people and helping
Yeah.
people get through. Your story is amazing because again, you're talking what you preach, right? We've
Yeah.
seen you on the big screen. We have assumed that that meant success. That you must have, and the fact that you were able to face yourself and say, "But it's not my success, and I'm gonna go
Exactly.
get it." That's the
Exactly.
real fight, and I'm
Yeah.
proud of you for doing that.
Thank you,
I'm
brother. I
proud of you
appreciate
for the
that.
movies. Now watch me go watch all of everything you've done now, just
It
because. I
is.
mean,
Yeah, I really
I love
appreciate
it.
that. Well, if you guys want
Well,
to watch something really fun, please go check out Studio City. Studio City is the show that I created. We won multiple Emmys for it. It's on Tubi, it's on Roku, it's on Amazon Prime, and it's really really fun and it's really poignant. And that's something I really put my heart and soul into. And it's also it's funny. I got sober just after the beginning of that show. So the work that I was able to do in that show was some of the first work I did when I finally had my head screwed on straight. And
no
and
way.
I think it shows. So Studio City, check it out.
And just to touch on a point, something you just said, when talking about addiction,
Yeah.
that when you're an artist like yourself, one of the things you fear you're gonna lose by being sober is your artistic
Yeah. Yeah.
thing.
There's this lie that I
It
think
is, yeah,
artists
it's a
artists tell
lie.
each other, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna lose my edge. I'm gonna lose my.
It's
You
a
know what? Let me tell you
lie.
something. I have no problem playing characters that are edgy, da 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 da, all that stuff sober. Because I'm clear. It's like the mechanism is
Yes,
clear, and I think that's a bit of a cop out.
it
Um,
is.
you know, uh, People who are artists think that their painting isn't going to be as vibrant. The colors aren't going to be. That's not true. That's not
No,
true.
it's
So, and you know
not.
what? Here's the thing. Give it a shot.
Yeah,
If
what
listen,
do you got to lose?
if you're Picasso or Van Gogh and are putting away a fifth of vodka, God bless you, man. Go do it. And I can't wait to go to the museum and see your your exhibition. But give it a shot for a couple months and see how the painting works out without drinking.
I think you hit it right on the head. I've heard that all
Yeah.
my life with people I'm around, and but yeah, no, when you're in the clear head, it's all decisions, right? Everything,
Yeah.
acting,
Well,
any
it's not.
art
You know
you're
what it
making are
is
decisions.
your, for lack of a better word, your transom, the stuff that goes through your soul. It's clear, so you can. I'll tell you something. I always equate the difference between being a professional of any kind, actor or anything else. The difference between being a professional boxer and a pretty good barroom brawler. 9 out of 10 times, the professional boxer is going to dismantle the barroom brawler. And it's because anybody can throw a knockout punch one time, but can you summon the lightning to come down when you need it again and again and
Ooh.
again? And it's like with acting, you know, sometimes you got 5 minutes before you go into a meal penalty, which is going to cause the production to have to pay more money than they can. You have to get this take. And for me, thank God, I know that I can summon it down when the chips are down and when there's not a lot of time and circumstances aren't perfect. It's the same thing with, like, a guy that's a Navy SEAL. It's easy probably on the shooting range to hit the bullseye. Can you do it when somebody else is shooting back at you
In another
and
country,
shit's going down, right? So I guess that was a long-winded way of saying that with whatever your pursuit is, treat it with a professionalism. My acting teacher, the great late Roy London, used to always say, I have more in common with a successful plumber than I do with an unsuccessful acting teacher. And,
oh,
and and that's because the very things it takes to be successful with what you do, with somebody who's an accountant, somebody who's I don't know, a Navy SEAL, a baseball player, anything. There are certain things in every position that you have to do to be successful. It starts with, character. It starts with self-discipline and work ethic. Being a
100%.
student, always, there's a lot of things that doesn't matter what you do. And if you can focus on those things, boy, you're really stacking the deck in your favor to become successful.
I love it. The way you talk. You're really a fighter. You're really into the fighting part of it, right? And
I
martial
am.
arts. And
Yeah.
how long have you been doing that? I mean, obviously you can see
I've
the
been
movies, but
I've been
how
studying I've
long?
been studying martial arts off and on since I was 15. And there's times that I've studied a lot and there's times I haven't, but I've always carried the ethos, the core principles of martial arts with me, which are humility and courage and kindness and the ability. I call it optimization in my book, but the ability to take action when it's necessary to take action, you know?
Yeah, it's tough.
Situational awareness, not just
Big
not
time.
just for danger, but like really understanding what's going on around you. Not being myopic and having tunnel vision. And these are the principles that I espouse and apply in my books in the Way of the Cobra series.
Yeah, I connect with you on that for
Well,
sure. I've
good. Go
never been
read
able
them,
to have
man.
that conversation with someone. Try to talk to my wife to explain. I'm like, a lot of the things that I use that are helping me in life are from what I learned in karate.
Well,
you
let me
know?
let me tell you what I'd love to see you and your wife do. So
Yes.
the third book in the Way of the Cobra series, I co-authored with my wife. It just won the International Impact Book Award, and it's called Cobra Couples.
What? Of
So,
course you did. Of
so we
course you
took
did.
we took all of the philosophy and the strategy from Way of the Cobra and Welcome to the Kumite. We applied it to creating the very best relationship you can. And this book is not just for people in a relationship. If you're single and you're sick and tired of spinning your wheels, not forming a relationship with the partner you are meant to have, this is the book for you, man. Look, I mean, my wife and I have had a vibrant relationship for 15 years in Hollywood, which is not the easiest place. We are not professionals. We don't have all the answers. But again, everyone's life is messy. Do my wife and I fight? Sure, we fight. But we've learned how to communicate and understand that, we are both in this relationship together that we want to succeed. And our book, I'm getting that flash there for you. Way of the Cobra
I'll
Couples,
put it up.
dude, it's a really fun read. And there's some knowledge in here. And a lot of this knowledge is it's not ours. It comes from the universe. We're just the messengers. And the great thing about this book is, unlike the other two, where I'm the sole voice in it, now there's two voices. Because when you talk about a
What?
relationship,
I'm getting it.
you got to have two. And look, if you're gay, if you're straight, if whatever, a relationship is two people, right?
Yep.
And you need to hear two different perspectives. So I got my co-sensei, my wife Michelle, and I'm telling you, man, we're really proud of this book.
I love it. Thank you for giving the world so many nuggets for us to start,
You are welcome.
using. I'm very proud of you, very proud of your
Thank you.
sobriety. I got to tell you, out of all
Thank you.
things, thank you.
Thank
Keep
you.
doing what you're doing. Keep empowering people. It really is God's work, and
Yeah.
you're doing your
Well,
part.
you too, man, because I can tell you're
I'm
doing it
proud.
too. I mean, we're, steel sharpens steel, right? And I can recognize it in you too.
Thank you.
So I
Thank you.
really don't be a stranger, man. I wish you
No,
so
no, we
much
got to
continued
connect.
success, but more than success, I wish you self-awareness and meaningful
Yes.
happiness. All right?
Woo! With that, thank you for joining
All
me.
right,
Have a
man.
great day.
Have a great weekend.
Repeat after me. I am powerful. I am powerful. Louder. I